Hey everyone, this is a few months after I was actually in Hiroshima, and this was kind of intentional for me to record an intro a bit later because this was like the hardest place I've ever been, and I've been to some pretty dark places and I'm completely unfazed. I was actually even really upset in the train station and couldn't leave there for like 30 or 60 minutes or something, and I think I kept a bit of a poker face and didn't keep the bad takes, so it unfortunately doesn't show. But there are a lot of reasons why this place in particular just really was kind of a personal thing, and so I'm actually going to be making very little attempt to really tightly cut this video. So I'm going to have some thoughts after having had some time for a few months to think about it at the end. So I intentionally did not record any outro when I was actually there. So let's flip to Nagoya on the way to Hiroshima. Good morning, everyone. We are in noisy Nagoya station, and I think I'm starting out all these videos the same, getting ready to take a bullet train somewhere, and I'm going to be going somewhere very special. So next train is to Hiroshima, and I'll say a little bit more about it later, why this has actually even special significance to me, not just from being an American. But I know at least many people back, say, in the United States or in Europe I talk to assume that there's nothing there. It's a city of like 1.2 million people. They assume there's a ton of radiation, so we're going to actually compare. So right now in Nagoya Station, we're at 0.08 microsieverts per hour, and we can see what it is at Hiroshima. This level can be, like in Poznan, it's actually twice this. It's like 0.015 or higher sometimes. I arrived in the train station, and it's basically the same as anywhere else in Japan. And I actually had a little bit... I got to Hiroshima station a little bit ago, but I had a little trouble recording because I was actually getting a bit more emotional here than I was expecting, maybe just because I'm sleepy, I don't know. But I didn't have this problem in Chernobyl or some other places, but I think somehow just like this area, just exactly like the rest of Japan so far. And I think just in particular seeing like this happy little kids, like there's a mother carrying a kid and there's a father carrying a baby in the baby carrier, and somehow, I don't know, that just is different. It's totally expected. Radiation's at a normal level, 0.11, 0.10 microsieverts an hour. That's lower than it is in most places in Poland, to be honest. I think it's time to share why this is something really of a lot of importance to me in particular. That I had two grandfathers who were in the Pacific Front in World War II. My grandfather on my mom's side never talked about it. Apparently it was so bad and something horrible happened. We don't know what, but it was just, don't go there. He never talked about the war. And on my dad's side, I mean, we know some details, not others. Like he had some shrapnel in him, something happened. We don't know exactly what, but what we do know is he was in some CB's unit. My dad sent me like a huge long message kind of, giving a lot of this detail, and there's no way I can really repeat it all. But what we do know is that he was scheduled to be in the first wave invading the mainland of Japan, and then the war suddenly ended because of the atomic bombs. So there's a very, very, very good chance that I may never exist if this didn't happen. That's, of course, not a justification for all the crazy things that'll happen and all that happen. I'll get into that in a little bit. But it's kind of strange to think about what sort of thing I might owe my existence to. This is the famous building that survived the bombs. So this is used to be an industrial promotion hall, and this looks really similar to a lot of the places I explore. But obviously, they're preserving it in this state. They don't want to change the ruin and decay, but they want to keep it as is. And yeah, just kind of crazy to see this here. This is a very touristic place. There's a lot of people snapping photos and everything. People playing guitar in the park. It's a little eerie in some ways. I mean, you could look at it as optimistic, like we're trying to come back from what was a great tragedy, but also somehow, I don't know, feels a little off to me. But yeah, we have these people here. I didn't mention also, I forgot that my grandfather on my dad's side was part of the occupying force after the invasion. We're not sure if he was in Kyoto or somewhere else, and he unfortunately died about 20 years ago, so it's hard to ask him this stuff. Are you ready? Peace. Okay, so those couple people I just talked to right there, they didn't really feel comfortable with their English, just doing it in real time, explaining what they think of the whole Hiroshima situation, Hiroshima. So I'm going to say it while I still remember it because it was a lot. So there's I was looking at this information where, like in the firebombs of the cities, there were just, I think, even way more people killed in these than the actual atomic blast in Hiroshima. What do, Japanese think of this? And what one of them told me was that, you're basically taught that the atomic bomb, it was a evil thing. And there was no comparison between, okay, well, it was an evil thing, but maybe these other things were more evil that happened, or any subtlety. I mean, in all fairness, this sounds kind of like the sort of thing that happens in really every country, that, history is very complex. There are some horrible things that happen, and they counterbalance some other things that were maybe more horrible. It's hard to say. So it just sounded like it was one of those types of things that just nobody really wants to talk about. I got the name of just dropped my phone. I got the name written down. So basically the two of them were descendants of survivors of the bomb. And the name that I was given was Hibakusha. So I don't think that's someone who actually survived the bomb, but like a descendant, or maybe Hibakusha is someone who... No, I think Hibakusha is someone who survived the bomb. So... Yeah, the other one, the older one, was saying that she's completely against everything in terms of atomic bomb, atomic energy. I honestly don't really know my thoughts on, was this, I'd hate to say good thing, but was it, a better decision to have dropped the bomb or to have waited for Japan to surrender? That's something, I'm not a historian. I've heard this argued in both ways, and please leave in the comments any thoughts on that. I think it's kind of a passionate subject that I wish I could say something intelligent about, but I don't know. I've heard the argument many times that Japan was not going to surrender, that even though they'd be defeated, they'd still keep going to the end just to wipe out more Americans, and that way more lives would have been lost. I honestly don't know. Another thing that they said, and keep in mind this is just a couple people's opinions, and they were also war activists, so they were there protesting the whole situation with Palestine. So I want to try asking some other people as well, that they felt that it was a demonstration of power to the Soviet Union, that kind of America already knew that it won, and they just wanted to show the Soviet Union, like, hey, you mess with us, we have this sort of power. So that was kind of like the summary of that, and I'll see if I can talk to some other people. But one of the difficulties, I think, is that a lot of locals, their English, either it isn't that good, or they're just really self-conscious, so they don't want to be on the camera, and they're pretty shy about it. Oh yeah, and two more things I completely forgot that they said. They also felt that the dropping of the bomb was an excuse to test the effects of the nuclear bomb. So things like, what sort of the effects of the radiation afterwards, or not even just the burning. And rather than trying to treat the people, they felt that it was more of a science experiment by the American government. And just to break up the seriousness of the topic a little bit, they're having fun. So, hi. See, someone else has the 3-meter selfie stick. 3-meter selfie stick.
Yeah.
That's great. I have it too. And yeah, same thing.
Oh, well, that would be Papa Talks.
Papa and Ricky Talks.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'll put a link to it in the information description. It really just is kind of eerie, the happiness of this area, mixed with the history of it. So the other thing that they said as well was that they felt that Japan really isn't fully independent from the United States, that most Japanese aren't feeling this exactly, but there's a significant amount of U.S. military here, and that those, say, around Okinawa, where there's other bases, may resent this in some sort of way. So I think that's it. I totally forgot as well. I posted this on my Facebook wall just for my friends to know and ask, like, are there any questions that I should ask anybody around here? So I went back to the same couple people. I tried talking to a few more people, but I think just the same thing, that everyone's like uncomfortable with their English. So if you want to try this exercise, maybe it helps to be better at Japanese, or maybe be more charismatic than me. I'm not sure what the problem was, but I went back to the first two I was talking to, and I asked them for first, how many people blame the emperor, specifically Emperor Hirohito. And interesting thing, they actually don't refer to the emperor by name, but by the era. So they were calling him a Showa emperor. So that's different than, say, in South Park when it was Emperor Hirohito. And so they said actually that very few people blame him, which I thought was very interesting, because, he was invading Pearl Harbor and doing all this. And, once again, I'm not a historian. I don't know what would have happened otherwise. Maybe America wanted to go head-to-head with Japan anyway and would find some excuse. I have no idea. But that was sort of interesting to me. And I guess that can happen sometimes. Like, I wonder, for example, how many Russians are blaming Putin for what's going on now. I mean, it's hard to really get accurate information on that. I more have people I know in Ukraine than in Russia right now to ask this sort of thing. The other thing that was asked as well on my Facebook wall is, do Japanese hold a grudge against Americans for this? And, for the atomic bomb. And the response, once again, from these couple people was that generally not, that it was looked at like it was a horrible act, but there isn't really any grudge after this many years later, either against the American people or against the American government. Back to this question about radiation. So I checked it again. Remember, we had about 0.08 in Nagoya Station, and usually it's lower inside. It was also really low in Hiroshima Station. And so here's a place where there actually was an atomic bomb that hit. So let's check and see what the Geiger counter says. And we are at the moment, let's see if we can get this to focus. It's at 0.17 microsieverts per hour, 0.18. It was around like 0.2 earlier, so kind of seems to be like maybe 0.15 to 0.25. So this is like a little bit higher, like ever so slightly higher than, say, it would be in Poznan, or it's certainly well within the safe range. So I remember when I went to Chernobyl, they were saying something like, if it's like 0.3 or higher, then that means something happened. So even from that, like it's pretty much unnoticeable. I'll check in a few other areas of Hiroshima while I'm here. But yeah, this place that was hit by an atomic bomb is completely not any more radioactive than you're going to find in other places in any significant way. So I know a lot of people are very surprised by that, but that's how it is. I just decided to sit and reflect for a while in the park, got some stuff from 7-Eleven, and just walked a little bit over this way. And, that's not really too descriptive, but apparently on August 6, 1945, 600 meters above there is where the bomb was dropped and rather detonated. And just the park is just a little bit that way, so there's nothing really too noticeable here. And what's just kind of funny to me, with just this area here is there's just a 7-Eleven over here. So I don't know, somehow that absolutely does not fit what happened in this location. So if anyone's curious, how radioactive is it, like right where the bomb was dropped, I'm getting about 0.17 microsieverts an hour, and really pretty close to what it was in the park. I'm done with the memorial park now, and I think it's best just to walk around Hiroshima and just see what else is here, get a real idea what the city is like. And I don't want to go too crazy on this because I still have this entire week-long math conference in Nagoya coming up, and that takes energy, and I'm running around in this whirlwind trip, and I do need to rest at some point. So I think I'll kind of wander around, and maybe I'll try to grab a drink or something like that, and then go back to the capsule hotel and rest, and then get ready for exploring more Hiroshima tomorrow. And we see it is a Saturday night here, and it is quite lively. It still has all the kind of kawaii stuff you see everywhere else in Japan. And like kawaii is something you just really don't associate with Hiroshima. But they're definitely tourists, as you can see in here. those back in the United States or Europe who think that Hiroshima must be a abandoned and radioactive wasteland. Yeah, it's not the case at all. So there's definitely as much life here as anywhere else. I love the neon lights and everything here. This is probably a good place to have a drink. Radiation on this lively street, it's about 0.13, 0.14 microsieverts an hour. Hiroshima is really turning out to be a big karaoke hub. There's Billy the Kid karaoke, there's the Lucky Cat karaoke, and I think there's a whole bunch of other ones I just passed. There is Blow Casino right there. Couldn't resist that one. Oh yeah, look at all the people here. What time is it? It's like it's around 11 p.m. now. I'm sure it's only going to get busier as time goes on. For those who want to go to this area, I saw a sign that it's like Nagarakawa, and looking on Google Maps, it looks like this is Nagarakawocho. So I think this is kind of like a entertainment / red light district. This has to be Brokeback Hiroshima.
It's always about gay cowboys eating pudding.
I think we'll have to try this because clearly this guy has all the right things on his mind right here. Kuruki. It's not shochu. Shochu, kuruki. Cheers. Need you each, need you need you so, need you see, need you go. Yeah. Haircut.
Very well.
Yeah.
Better.
Bill, yeah.
Bill.
Bill, yeah.
Hayato.
Hayato. Good to meet you. Hayato.
ありがとうございます。ありがとうございます。広島どうぞ。
Can get like...
あ、取れちゃった。
Time to go to the bathroom. There's a little bit of a surprise. We have to sneak under here to use it. All right. It was cool talking to the locals. Some, there wasn't really a common language, but we managed. So I'm gonna go back and actually properly check into the capsule hotel. It seems like I might be able to show. I'm just gonna keep really quiet because I'm not sure how soundproof these things are. Okay. Well, this is where I'm going to be staying. It doesn't look so bad at all, actually. I was thinking it was going to be something roughing it a bit more. Well, underneath the bed, it looks like we have a storage area. And it came with somewhere that has this thing here to put your shoes, I think. And then here's like a pajamas and a towel and all this sort of stuff. So, okay, I'm gonna change into my pajamas. So we have a very dark changing room. So there is a light. It's not so bad. It's pretty spacious. You got a mirror. Yeah, this capsule hotel isn't really cramped at all. Well, the legs are maybe a little bit the wrong length, and something really bad happened. I dropped my phone, and on the main lens, look at this. I really can't turn this in and get it repaired until I get back to Poland, and that's like the main camera that I use the most, so that's a problem. Let's give another look at what's in here, because there's some more stuff. Like there's a plug, which is really useful, and like a radio and alarm clock. You kind of like listen to a bunch of stuff, and remote with a TV and all that. So anyways, I'm going to try to relax, especially after what happened with my iPhone there. Maybe I'll get a protector or something for the camera tomorrow, but I'm out and I'm going to relax, and then I'll let my brain process all the stuff that I heard about Hiroshima, and I'll give some thoughts, at the very end. Well, good afternoon. It is a beautiful sunny day in Hiroshima, and we are currently at 0.2322 microsieverts per hour, something like this, 0.21. And I need to see if I can get my phone fixed. I don't know if that was in focus. I actually can't tell with the sunglasses on looking at the screen. But yeah, so it's the main camera that was busted, and I can't take photos without them being out of focus. So it's a really bad thing to happen. when I still have a week left in Japan. So I checked and the Apple prices were like $500, so there might be some kind of cheaper way that some local person could at least do something for a while. So I'm going back to the bomb area. Apparently there's a museum that I just somehow missed, and I want to check that out. And then there's this really cool island that I want to go to before I go back to Nagoya. Maybe Odd Jobs Hiroshima can help fix my phone. Well, I'm told they won't repair it here, but I at least want to get some sort of protector to make sure it doesn't get further damage. And I did try taking some photos far away. So with the photos far away, it looks kind of okay, but when you like zoom in, it all looks really, really soft. So maybe some people won't be bothered, but like I do really care that my photos look good. So we're just gonna use this until I can really get it properly fixed. I think the museum is somewhere around here. I wanted to come back again, and it is really so much more of a beautiful, nice, sunny day. I'll show what happened with this. I think I'm just gonna have to put up with some not so great photos for a while, but I have a cover over this, so there shouldn't be any like further damage or scratching, hopefully. Adult tickets are only 200 yen or $1.33. Half that for high school students and free for younger. So this is some sort of mural of what the place was like before the bombing. Yeah, it's a different world here for sure. Wow, look at that street. That's something else. That was before the bomb, and this is, I guess, right after. And yeah, the familiar building that we just went to right over here. Yeah, kind of more survived than I guess you might actually think. There's still some trees standing. Well, I stopped recording at that point because honestly it got a bit rough. So if you want to see the museum yourself, obviously, it's just think second, if you actually want to see, I mean, obviously there was great suffering there, and they definitely made a point to show it. Just kind of some initial thoughts about what I saw there. A lot of the message was to prevent another Hiroshima, and I totally agree with this. The focus was on banning nuclear weapons. It'd be great if we don't have nuclear weapons, but what to me was actually kind of just shocking was that they have nothing about the conditions that led up to this, about the emperor attacking the United States, or say what he did in China in Unit 731. So, don't look up Unit 731 if you have a weak stomach, but in all fairness, the suffering that were inflicted on the Chinese by Imperial Japan were, far greater than anything I saw in that museum. So, obviously, the citizens of Hiroshima were victims, but I think if the museum's to be really fully honest and actually examining the situation, they really need to show not only the horrors of that, but the conditions that led up to that to prevent that from happening again. I'm going to go to Miyajima Island. It's will hopefully lighten up some of the heavy mood. It's I think a little bit more than an hour to get there, and it's supposed to be really beautiful. It's going to be getting dark soon, so I don't know that I'll be able to spend that much time there, but I think it's still probably a nice thing to see while in the area at least. Well, I made it. I almost completely went the wrong way. I think I'm really getting tired. I need to rest more. So this is the ferry. It's really very cheap. You have to go a bit far. And this looks very promising. Look at these mountains over here. I'm sure this is going to be just shockingly beautiful. nice here with the sunset. And look who we have right here. So there's deer wandering all around over there in the streets as well. And I think my understanding is we're not supposed to feed them. Apparently the Nara deer you can feed. But these are, they're tame and apparently quite used to people, but for some reason you don't feed them. So I'm just gonna say hi. Hey, Dzień dobry. Konnichiwa. Привет. Oh, you're cute. Skip, no big deal. Oh. I think the ferries are like $1.50, something like that. It's not too bad. Like, it's not a huge distance across, but it's really nice to get here. And I guess some people actually spend the night here. I didn't realize that this is quite as oh, we have another deer. Oh. Someone's following me. Hey, gonna hang out? And this is one of the main attractions of the island. This is the Itsukushima Shrine, and it dates back to 593 AD. It's been rebuilt several times. I am up here with fellow tourists, and it looks like some of the hardcore people are actually down there getting some specific shots. Yeah, everybody down here is getting selfies in front of it. How's the shrine? How am I doing? Can we get a good shot like this? There it is. The things right here, they were dry a little bit ago, but I think the water is rising. Oh yeah, it's actually a bit harder to get out now. Seems like the best exit's over there. This is getting actually really deep now, and I don't want to have wet feet, so I kind of gotta hurry. And we go and jump. Oh God, okay. Well, it's not gonna be too bad. I think it did get a bit wet though. Yeah, they did. Maybe we'll dry it off in the train. Although this is kind of a cool view from here. I don't know if it appears as such on the camera. This smells pretty bad. This is some sort of seaweed or something, but it's stinking to high hell. But yeah, it's so beautiful though. I absolutely need to get going soon. Apparently need to get here earlier for this. This is like the largest rice spoon or something like that. I mean, I love these sorts of like world's largest, world's smallest things. So I got here for golden hour, and that was like a beautiful shot. But I think maybe you have to get here by 5 to really see this and observe it. So the doors are closed, but if I ever come back here, I think this is going to be the first thing on my list. So I need to catch the ferry back. There's a limited number of trains back to Nagoya. I'm at Hiroshima Station. I barely got here in time. I have 12 minutes to spare. This is the last train to Nagoya. And actually, I really have a lot of thoughts. The problem is that I am beyond tired, and I think that there's a lot to reflect on. And I want to record something actually after I get to Poland and just kind of say what I'm thinking. And that was all very hard for me. One of the things I really regret that I was so rushed, because something I didn't show, like in the museum, there was like this little kid and his tricycle, like Shin and his tricycle. I'll forget the full name, I'll put it in the subtitles, but like there's this cute little boy with the pudgy cheeks who was just killed in the bomb blast, and like literally for a couple months afterwards, that just really upset me. Like something about seeing the visuals, for whatever reason, that one really bothered me. And he was buried with his tricycle, and his friend, they were holding hands. So I really did rush through the museum, and I really regret this. I think I needed some time to reflect on this, and I definitely, if I'm ever back, I would love to go see it again. Part of, I think, what bothered me about the whole thing is that for starters, like I said, this is probably the only thing like this that I actually have some connection to, that, like I wouldn't be alive if this thing hadn't happened. And so, I think one of the reasons I was even there was like, I've heard a lot of reasons, why it was the right thing to do this, as horrible as it was. For example, with all the tons and tons of people losing their lives and the fire bombings and all this, and it was just, huge. Japan was so destroyed. And so the question, given the context of the time, you have this new weapon, and maybe this can just end the war. I don't know if it was going to end either way. I mean, that's something, like I said, historians can say. I don't know myself. But do you then actually drop it on the city as a demonstration, then in another one? And I was really looking for reasons that would convince me that no, if I were in that position, I would not do the same thing. And what really makes me upset is like, I couldn't really find any, unfortunately. So like, actually, if I were, hypothetically, if, I were in the position to decide to drop that bomb or not, with everything there, I think I probably would. And like I said, that doesn't make me happy. So this was, I guess it's a less of two evils, but curious what everyone, what everyone else thinks. It's a really touchy topic, and I try to be open-minded and go there, and I'm still very much open to other thoughts and what really would have been the right thing. So I would really like to go back there, and I also want to, if I can, go to Nagasaki. I might go to Japan in about a year. I'm not sure yet. There's another conference in Tsukuba this time. So I'm going to just, here's a beautiful Loch Ness. I was starting to edit the video on the way here, so I got to, really go over the footage. So anyways, just kind of closing with, like, comment, subscribe, all this sort of stuff. There's going to be a whole bunch more from Japan. It's taking me forever to edit this. And I'd really like to hear everyone's thought on this. Like I said, this is a really, really hard place for me to visit. And I think I had, forced way too much of a poker face on myself, because like really inside there was a lot of inner turmoil when I was there. So I think only now am I really kind of settled down enough that I could even record this outro. So that's it, and I'm out. Well, outro number 2, because I realized just after I didn't talk about all the things I wanted to talk about, because there's really a lot to think about. One of the things, this is all going to like sound insensitive, and I want to make sure that, it's clear that I'm being properly respectful, but, of course this is and was a great tragedy, but somehow I feel that if Berlin, got hit by a nuclear weapon at the same time, then there wouldn't be as much sympathy, because they had a, evil leader who was very, correctly attributed to how evil he was. And, why do people talk about how evil, the German leader was, and ignore the Emperor of Japan? And my understanding is this was just something that, the Americans did. They didn't publicize it in Japan so much because, they still needed to get a good control over Japan, and they still looked at him like a god. And, when you look at the things historically that he was responsible for, I mean, he wasn't any worse than the German leader. And so I think this is kind of what happens, is that people have forgotten a lot, what were the atrocities that the Japanese back then performed to other nations. So I think there's kind of like maybe a marketing that they were, of course they're innocent victims, but that it was, very different than the evil Germans. So that was something also that, I was very interested in Hiroshima, was seeing, did people blame the emperor? I talked to those people, and no one seemed to blame him the same way that, everyone would. I don't know if I say the German leader's name if I get like a problem with YouTube, because, he was more correctly marketed as evil as he is. So that's another point that I think is very important. And just on a little bit of a lighter, well, not a lighter note, because it actually kind of sucks. I dropped my phone in Hiroshima and broke all the lenses in it. It's still this bad, because I have not really figured out what to do with Apple Care in Poland. So even some months later, I'm still taking some kind of crappy photos. But anyways, I think that's it for, I don't think there's going to be another outro. Maybe we'll see, but I'm out.